Hi everyone, and welcome to week 10 of the course. This week we're dealing with one of the more depressing topics of the class, which is global stratification, meaning inequality. So again, the word globalization comes up mainly in relation to production or global commodity chains, which refer to systems through which resources are gathered in one part of the world, produced into an object in another part of the world, and then sold, marketed, and consumed in yet another part. And you'll see later on in this chapter how the global commodity chain works through the example of Barbie dolls. So global inequality refers to variations in power and wealth among countries. And it's measured by factors like income, population, life expectancy, fertility, and mortality. The chart on page 269 really helps visualize these inequalities. Unfortunately, over the past several decades, these inequalities have largely sustained themselves, with rich countries getting wealthier and poor countries staying the same or even becoming poorer. Later in the chapter, you'll read about 4 theories which discuss global inequality, including market theory, modernization theory, dependency theory, world systems theory, and state-centered theory. Now, as with any theories we've read in this class, none of them are perfect. They all have their limitations and flaws. But they're a good starting point for understanding inequality and economy. You'll want to pay special attention to this section of the chapter, as it comes up in this week's e-portfolio and discussion board. So for the e-portfolio, we're going to be looking at country-level data again, like we did a few weeks ago, and we're going to be focusing on Afghanistan, because you should be reading the Kite Runner, which is set partially in Afghanistan. And for the next week, you're going to be writing your paper about urbanization and about Luis's example. But for the final paper, you're going to be writing about Afghanistan and the Kite Runner. And you're going to be using the data that we're doing now and over the next few weeks. So it's going to be important that you focus and do a good job on these e-portfolios. So there are a lot of instructions here. I'm going to talk you through it. So you're first going to click on the website and you're going to go to Data, Country Level Data. Now this gives us the indicators that we looked at a few weeks ago. You don't need to change anything in the first box. In the second box, you're just going to click on Afghanistan. And you can unclick Group Series. We just need Country. Go into View Data. And now this gives you a lot of different indicators. You can scroll all the way down. They've got things on poverty, tuberculosis, the use of contraception among women, all kinds of different issues that people in the developing world face. So when you're choosing which indicator you want to write about, I want you to make sure that there are multiple years that we have data for, because I want you to be able to compare the country over time. So if you look at this first one, population below national poverty level, you'll see that when you get to total percentage, only 1 year has data, 36% for Afghanistan. Whereas if you're looking at, well, this one's a little hard to understand, purchasing power. But if you look at the population of people who are undernourished, which is presented here by millions, not percentages, you can see that there is data for every year that they have here. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you're picking one that at least has 2 years of data. And if you want more information on the individual indicator, you can click on the sentence. And this takes you to a page which has the definition, how the indicator is defined, so that you can better understand it, how it was calculated, which might get a little tricky, and also just basic information on the data, so the limitations that they had while collecting the data, the sources of the data, the availability, and so on. And if you click on this blue one, this blue sentence up here, it'll take you to a page that not only has Afghanistan's percentages, but percentages for other countries as well. Not sure what I clicked there to get to that error page, but it should be fine for you. So here, we're not going to use poverty because we only have one indicator for Afghanistan. But you can see that once you click on that blue bold sentence on the second page, you can see other countries as well. So for the first part of this, I want you to describe Afghanistan over time. But then I also want you to look at another country. And in my example, I looked at, go back to View Data. I looked at contraception use among women who are 15 to 49 years old. So here we can find the data for Afghanistan. And I also looked at Chad as my second country. Okay. So Chad also has several percentages, and so we can compare over time. And then I give you an example in the write-up. So when it comes to contraceptive use among women who are married and aged 15 to 49, usage in Afghanistan has increased from 5% in 2000 to over 20%, 21.8 in 2010. Now this might show more liberal customs or heightened gender equality in that country over time, and also compared with other countries. For example, I said that I had looked at Chad, which at the same time period went from a high in 2000 of 7.9% or almost 8%, and by 2010 had dropped to about 5%, 4.8%. So in the same time, Afghanistan increased from 5 to 20%, Chad decreased from 8% to 5%. And then you'll want to add a few more sentences interpreting your percentages, the change over time, and then Afghanistan compared to another country. You'll also want to include a little bit about the 5 theories that you'll go over, the 5 theories of global inequality. You'll also want to be working on, you'll have the discussion board post, and you'll also want to be working on your essay 2 prep. The essay is not due till week 11, but you should be consolidating this week, reviewing again the instructions, and then looking through your discussion board posts, your previous e-portfolios, and putting all the information that you might use for your second paper onto that prep on e-portfolio. Okay, so as always, have a great week.